It's the 7-Minute Drill, a fast-paced and fun conversation about common orthopedic topics and solutions with Dr. John Urse. Brought to you by
Ted's Authentic Greek Salad Dressing and Marinade. It's healthy, gluten-free, and delicious. You can find Ted's in Dayton, Ohio at Dorothy Lane Markets, Health Foods Unlimited, and Dots Markets. That's Ted's Authentic Greek Dressing and Marinade. Thanks, Ted.
We would also like to thank
Stifel's GWR Group combines more than 65 years of experience helping high net worth clients consolidate, coordinate, and simplify their wealth planning strategies. The group has access to a full suite of resources to serve all of your financial needs. Email gwrgroup at stifel.com or call 937-353-2863 to speak to Guy, Brad, or Jeff Richardson. Stifel, Nicholas & Company, Incorporated.
Hey, Dr. John, welcome back to another episode of the Bone and Joint Playbook, 7-Minute Drill. We're here to talk about a topic that affects a lot of my friends. And that topic is
gout.
And why is that such an issue that we need to deal with it?
Well, gout is a very common problem. It affects probably 5% of the population, so that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
And gout is a word derived from a Latin word called gutta, meaning drop. So little drops of what's called uric acid, which is the offending
culprit
in gout, accumulates in joints and causes pain, swelling, and is a real attention getter.
So gout affects 5%, and what is the main cause of gout? What are the main causes?
Well, again, we talked about there are building blocks for things called muscles and body parts. These are proteins. Proteins are made up of amino acids. We've all heard of amino acids. Well, some of the types of amino acids, they're called purines, are sometimes in excess in our bloodstream. So if we have too much uric acid, by our body making too much,
right?
You remember the Lucille Ball thing with the chocolates coming down the assembly line?
Oh, yeah.
And they're trying to eat them because they're coming too fast, right? So
right.
If your body's making too much uric acid, and there are some rarer forms of genetic problems where enzymes are out of kilter, where that causes overproduction, they call it. But the more common problem is under excretion, meaning your kidneys are not getting rid of the normal uric acid that breaks down from some of the foods we eat, some of the what are called purines. So high meat, cheese, alcohol, and wine products, when they break down after we ingest them, they have to leave through the exit channels in our kidneys.
Yeah.
And those exit channels are very specific for uric acid. So I tell people, if you think of a certain key fitting a certain door, exit channels for uric acid also are the same exit channels for the breakdown products of alcohol, some of the breakdown products of the red meats called the purines.
Yeah.
And the body then lets those alcohol products, which are like lactic acid and other things, go out first, much like a gentleman lets a lady out the door first. So the uric acid stays in a higher concentration, and certain medicines can compete and slow down uric acid removal, things like Lasix and some of the blood pressure medicines and other medicines that you can find on a list that we'll show later. So anything that either makes too much uric acid or doesn't allow the normal uric acid to leave can make it accumulate in the bloodstream and therefore cause problems. And we're going to use a mnemonic today called GOUT, G-O-U-T, meaning how do we know we have gout? That's pretty important.
Sure.
Well, the G stands for the great toe. So our big toe.
The great toe, the big toe.
And we're going to show a big swollen toe here. And gout is so painful that they say the bed sheets, like a cover on the toe, is enough to make it hurt. It'll be a red swollen toe, and the big knuckle of the toe is the G word for great toe. O means one. And gout usually only affects one joint. We'll talk about things like rheumatoid arthritis that can affect the right and left sides of the body, above and below the waist, the neck, the shoulders, the fingers. Gout usually only hits one joint at a time, and it's usually way away from the core of the body. It only goes to cooler joints, and that probably has a lot to do with kind of the way frost precipitates on a windowsill. Gout doesn't occur in hips and shoulders very commonly. It will go to the toe, sometimes the fingers, wrist, ankle, occasionally the knee, but it is almost always first in the big toe. So 95% of people have a thing called podagra, which means painful toe. Pod for podiatrist. We're always going to do some Latin.
Oh my gosh.
So a podiatrist fixes foot problems.
Right.
Agra is a painful condition of the foot. So podagra is a big swollen big toe knuckle. And we showed a picture of that, and that is a gout flare-up. That will get your attention because I told you the bed sheet won't even want to touch that toe till you quiet it down. Let's finish our acronym. So G for great toe, one. O for
I feel like
one
a Sesame
joint.
Street thing up here. G.
U,
Yeah.
we just talked about uric acid, right?
okay.
That's the battery acid that causes all the pain.
Right.
And T is tophi. Now, tophi are little bumps or globs of uric acid that make joints swell. You'll see them sometimes, and we'll show a picture of those, where they go around the knuckles of the hand or the toe, or they can, that's not very common. But, I mean, if you see those things, that's, you can always put a needle in and draw fluid off and look under a microscope, and you can see these little things called crystals, and they're uric acid crystals, and go, there's your doggone diagnosis.
Isn't that the same thing as a kidney stone, though? Don't you?
Great question. So
it is.
uric acid accumulation can affect kidney stones.
Yeah, I've had those, and they're not
and
fun.
that's why if you ever get a kidney stone, your diet's important to not get another kidney stone, but most of them are calcium-derived stones, but some are uric acid. Now, uric acid does not show up on an x-ray. We all know calcium is that whitish thing you see in bones. So
Right.
bones show up on an x-ray. Calcium stones show up on an x-ray of the kidney. So if you have a what's called a radiolucent stone, that's why you should tell your urologist to look under a microscope, what kind of kidney stone do I have? If it's a uric acid stone, you could be prone to getting some kidney stone issues, kidney damage, and high kidney stone and uric acid levels are harmful to the kidney function. So controlling uric acid by either slowing its production, there's medicines that slow the uric acid production. One's called allopurinol. And then there's medicines that you can look at that don't block its removal from the kidney. So you want to make sure you're not on a medicine that aggravates your gout. So your doctor should say, hey, we've got you on this blood pressure medicine or this water pill, and we got to make sure we're not aggravating your gout symptoms. Every time you take your pill, you get a flare-up. So you can adjust your medicines. You can adjust your diet. We're going to show a diet plan that says avoid these certain foods that have high purine content. So the last thing I'll mention about diet is gout is called the disease of kings. So they'll show
Henry VIII.
Henry VIII with a big turkey leg and a glass of red wine. And those are all really good at the feast. But back, that night while he's watching Monday Night Football, he's got a big swollen toe because he flared up his gout with the red wine, with the high protein purine red meat. And there's a lot of fish also that are on the list, sardines, some of the salmons, some of the mackerel, things that are that have high purine content you can find on these lists that we'll post.
I'm surprised that you'd hear salmon. I thought salmon was...
Oh, well, it's great unless you have gout.
Okay.
So,
did we finish our acronyms, by the way?
Yeah, the GOUT. Tophi was the T.
Toe,
don't forget, you're going to show a picture of that tophi. And
I will.
And if it's only... it's not that common to get those. That's a real end stage problem. So again, do I have gout? The question is, it could be in the ankle. Now, once you get it in the big toe, remember it's common there first. Then the question is, could it go to another joint? Well, it could. It could be an ankle problem or a knee problem. Gout can also be flared up by stress. So sometimes people have surgery. The stress of the surgery can actually get a gout flare-up to occur. So there are treatments that use anti-inflammatories. I'm not big on those, but in a gout flare-up, your anti-inflammatories like Celebrex, some of the steroids we talked about, Medrol dose packs or corticosteroids, although long-term corticosteroids can aggravate gout also. But in the short term, you want to quiet that flare down. There's also a thing called colchicine, which is a long-named medicine, but it's a real good ace in the hole for it. But after, you give enough of it until you actually get diarrhea or something. got some side effects in higher
You
doses.
can't drain it, or you can't stick a needle in there and pull it out?
You can, but the problem is it doesn't feel too good. There are things like gout in the ankle or knee where a little cortisone shot in the joint really feels good.
Right.
And that's up to the provider and the country you're in or the region you're in, what their philosophy of treating it is. Mostly it's medical treatment, meaning medication, ice, some Tylenol. We talked about some things for pain, and then and removing the things that are the aggravating factors. The final thing I would mention is there is a blood test for it called uric acid in the blood. I don't think it's very accurate because it just gives you one point in time. The better thing is a 24-hour urine collection where you see if you've made too much over that 24-hour period. And if you're making an excess amount, then you're making too much, like that Lucille Ball chocolate factory.
You're talking about uric acid in
I'm
the
not
urine.
just looking at the urine, hold it in a milk jug for a day, take it into the lab, and they go, holy cow, have you got way too much uric acid? Well, you're making too much. Then you need a slow production. Most likely, you're getting rid of too little, so it won't be excessive in the blood or in the urine.
Is there a way to flush it out?
Well, it's better to not have things that block its exit channels.
For sure.
Like,
But there's no
avoid
trick
those.
that you can, like...
There is a medicine called probenecid that helps what's called uric acid excretion in the kidney. So there are a few of those. One of the other names is too long to do on the podcast.
So my friends who tend to suffer from this, and I'm not a drinker, but they are drinkers, is that a common cause for this?
It's probably the most common cause because when alcohol breaks down, it becomes lactic acid.
Yeah.
And lactic acid is preferentially excreted, which is removed from the kidney, ahead of uric acid. So again, just the uric acid is like a gentleman letting the alcohol byproducts go out to the kidney.
Right.
And then the uric acid's just sitting there accumulating because it can't get out. Right? The exit channels, the little key window or door that the uric acid is removed from the body is now being used by alcohol breakdown products.
And what is the most common thing you recommend to people who suffer from this? Just back off the alcohol?
A lot of fluids, obviously.
Flush out your kidneys.
Yeah. Well, fluids are good.
Yeah.
But obviously avoiding, red meats, cheeses, types of things that have high purine content. And that's where our list of foods that are okay versus these may be okay,
right? But
these are really the ones you want to avoid.
I'd really like to get you and Dr. Paul together again because he is a keto guy, right? He's all about protein in, no carbs in.
Hey, it's great, but if you've got gout, you're going to be ahead of the game if you look at your do's and don'ts list. I mean, you mentioned a little bit. We'll talk about kidney stones. One quick line. I mean, things like spinach or things like oxalate that are byproducts of certain foods, or vitamin C breaks down to oxalate. That is what binds to calcium to form kidney stones. So if you have calcium oxalate kidney stones, like, you shouldn't be eating spinach. You should be looking at bad foods for kidney stone problems lists, just like you look at bad foods for gout.
Well, you just brought up a topic. I think it's right on. So Popeye has the giant arms. You think that's possibly gout that we're seeing there?
No, those are muscles.
Because he always eats the spinach, right?
But that's muscles. Those are biceps.
Okay.
Yeah. Hang in there.
Sorry for the diversion.
We really diverted on that.
Anything else we need to talk about on gout?
Not really. I think gout is a thing that your family doctor should know about.
Yep.
Your internal medicine doctor.
Does this show up on a blood test?
Again, I told you the blood test I think is a little hokey because it's only a point in time.
Yeah.
It'd be like saying I'm going to do a heart tracing and I think I'm getting skipped heartbeats. Well, if you're not having it skip while you're in the emergency room, they may miss it, right? So they wear a 24-hour monitor for your heart, and they go, hey, when you went home, your heart rate dropped down to 22. No wonder you were fainting. So that way, you monitor something on a longer basis. So a 24-hour urine test is a lot more accurate for uric acid overproduction or under excretion.
Is that something likely your general practitioner will say, hey, if you're going in with some issues, he may say, you might have gout. Here, do the following thing for me.
Yeah, and that's up to them. Again, a rheumatologist, an internal medicine doctor. If you really want to find out why the gout's occurring, you want to know, are you making too much or getting rid of too little?
Right.
And I think then you've got to really, you should roll your sleeves up if you've got this. If you're 1 in 20 people in the world who have gout, I'd want to know, what do I need to do to not get it? It is painful. I mean, it's a tension-getting problem.
My friends tend to walk funny when it's
Well, they
flaring
got
up,
to, that's because their big toes all swollen, right?
Right. Okay. Well, I will tell you, this has been right up the alley, and I hope my friends out there will watch this.
We want to thank our sponsors.
And also thank our sponsor, Stiefel, and
Ted's Greek Dressing.
By the way, if you've never had Ted's Greek Dressing, get this stuff, because I use it on bread, right? I don't eat a lot of bread, but when I do, if I'm dipping Ted's with bread.
And marinating your meats.
We do chicken.
Chicken and some of the beef.
Yeah.
So, again, tedsaladressing.com. You can order that. Stiefel Financial Consultants, we're pleased that they help sponsor this.
Sure.
And be sure to like us on social media, or ask a friend to listen to the Bone and Joint Playbook. And if you like the shorter versions, which we're going over on today, that's the 7-minute drill.
That is a 7-minute drill, which is probably more like a 14-minute drill. I have to go back and look at the clock. But all right. And if they want to reach out to you, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, drjohnurse.com is a way to see me in the office, but that's a long trip to Ohio if you're in Pretoria. But I'm worth it. We'll talk about the Ohio State Buckeyes, our national champions.
That's right. Oh, speaking of Dr. Paul, he didn't take it well. He's Notre Dame.
Well, everything makes somebody happy.
Yeah. All right. Hey, well, this has been the Bone and Joint Playbook with Dr. John Urse, the 7-minute drill. I'm Terry O'Brien, your producer, and we'll see you guys again probably in March. Thanks. Bye.